Yes, hello, welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran, and today we are up to the dummy halves, the hooker position. I've gone through the best three of every position, and for the positions, I've put a 4 and a 5, just an asterisk next to them, just in terms of some players that didn't play much NRL. For example, for the front rowers, Glenn Lazarus, I put as my number 5. Technically, he only played 2 years in the NRL era. So don't forget the positions I'm doing is from 1998 to 2025. I'm going to go through the best 3 hookers of the NRL era. Now, I'm going to go number 3, the best number 3 hooker of the NRL era. I'm going to say Api Coruscant. It was between him and Robbie Farah. I've got Robbie Farah just missing the top 3, based on what Appy has done in his career and the little success that Farah had overall in his career. Don't get me wrong, a terrific player. He only played in a few final series in his career, and won a premiership, as we all know, in 2005. A tremendous hooker, an international, an Origin player, um, an amazing hooker, Robbie Farah. But if you look at Api Coruscant's career, debuting for the South Sydney Rabbitohs in 2014, and only a couple of games into his career, he was a premiership winning hooker for the South Sydney Rabbitohs in the 2014 grand final against the Canterbury Bulldogs. Isaac Luke got suspended, ruled out for the grand final with a dangerous tackle in the prelim final. Api Coruscant has a few nights out leading up to the week before the grand final. Madge Maguire calls him in and says, "You're in, Appy." Isaac Luke is suspended. Api Coruscant is now in and playing in just a couple of games into his NRL career. He's won a premiership in the dummy half position. Quite incredible. He's at South Sayre for a couple of years. Goes to the Penrith Panthers. He was at Souths 2014. Goes to Penrith 2015 under Ivan Cleary. And then 2016, Trent Barrett signs him for the Manly Sea Eagles. And he plays 4 years there, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, getting to 2 final series as the Manly dummy half. In 2016, he beat Matt Parcell for the number 9 job for Manly to be the full-time 9. What a 9 he was for Manly. And gee, if things would have been different for the club if they were able to keep him. But of course, we had young Manase Fainu coming through the ranks, and then those off-field dramas happened, and Appy was then off to the Penrith Panthers at the beginning of the 2020 season, where he made a grand final, winning around 15 games in a row from dummy half, and played in his second grand final of his career. Then plays in another grand final, 2021, wins his second premiership against the South Sydney Rabbitohs, this time against his old club, and 2022 wins his 2022 wins his third premiership against the Parramatta Eels. Goes to the Tigers in 2023, becomes the Tigers captain. They haven't had much success since, but he's been no doubt. If you look at the club's history in 25 years for the West Tigers, I'd say Api Coruscant would be in their 3 best buys. Also with Terrell May, he would be in my 3 best buys as well. What he's brought to the side this year, unbelievable. Api Coruscant, he's gone from a cheeky little dummy half into a real leader. He suffered from some off-field dramas early in his career, but the way in which he was able to get his career back on track and his life back on track off the field, pretty incredible stuff. A really funny character. If you hear him on podcasts or interviews, very laid back, an incredible player. Might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's played for Fiji in the internationals. I'll have to double check that. But Api Coruscant, premiership winner, 3-time premiership winner, an outstanding player. Robbie Farah, captained New South Wales, won a premiership. Don't get me wrong, one of the best hookers we've seen as well. But I've just got Appy just over him. Probably the way in which Appy was able to combine with Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai. Just seeing his craft out of dummy half, the way he can engage the front rowers around him. I feel like he makes players around him better players. And Robbie did as well to a large extent, but I just feel like Appy, due to the more consistent success he's had throughout his career, um, I think you've got to give him, put him in the top three. I mean, that Penrith Panthers side were the um, best side we've seen of possibly rugby league history in Australia since 1908. So, yes, you had that Dragons side, but in terms of the salary cap for a side to win 4 premierships in a row, for Appy to be a part of that side for 3 grand finals in a row and 2 premierships in a row, he was a big part of why they ended up winning that grand final in 2021. Just his defence in that grand final was absolutely outstanding. Appy Coruscant for me is my number three. The number two for me is the 2005 New South Wales winning captain Danny Badiris. Captain 03, 04, 05 champion. In my opinion, the best captain that New South Wales has ever had. The way in which he was able to lead the side on and off the field, a true leader. The way he would walk down the tunnel at ANZ Stadium at Sydney Olympic Park, back then it was called Telstra Stadium, he would walk so quickly. He felt, I've never seen a player just look like he was leading a side down a tunnel where he just didn't want to be there. He wanted to get out on the field. There'd be times where he'd be walking down the tunnel, do a slight jog. He wants to get out there. A tremendous player, Danny Badiris, an amazing kicking game, an amazing combination with Andrew Johns, especially in Game 2, 2005. There's an amazing highlight from that game where Danny Badiris and Johns combine. Quite remarkable. Um, a tremendous career. 2008 was his final season of Origin, I believe. 2009, he goes to the Super League, comes back, finishes his career with the Newcastle Knights, won a premiership with Newcastle in 2001 against the Parramatta Eels. He was instrumental in that game. A tremendous hooker. Danny Badiris, honestly, like, there's not much he lacked in terms of ability and leadership. As I mentioned, he's number one captain for me in New South Wales history. I'll say from 1998 onwards, with this state of origin, he's got to be your number one captain. A tremendous leader, a terrific person, and just a Newcastle Knight through and through. It was actually funny. He came back under Wayne Bennett in the 2013 season, and at dummy half, he got the side, led the side alongside Kurt Gidley to a prelim final, coached by Wayne Bennett in 2013. I think we all forget what Newcastle were able to achieve when Wayne Bennett was there for that second year he was there. Unbelievable. They ended up signing some older players, Willie Mason, Craig Gower, some players that were on the back end of their career, but Danny Badiris still performed like he performed earlier on in his career. A tremendous dummy half. Now, there's no surprise to me. It won't be any surprise to you guys who number one is. It's obviously Cameron Smith. I'd go as far as to say that the best hooker the game has seen, whether it be in England Rugby League, Australian Rugby League history, he's the best number 9 that the game has seen. The way in which he was able to control the game through his kicking game, his options from dummy half, he knew when to engage his forwards. He had this beautiful combination with some of his front rowers and lock forwards, Dallas Johnson, Dale Finucane, Nelson Asofa Solomona, Jordan McLean. When he's 3 metres away from the line and the player in front of him is playing the ball, the way in which he was able to get his front rowers running onto the ball and scoring a try from that close to the line through a beautiful Cameron Smith pass where not one defender would lay a finger on the jersey. Pretty incredible what Cameron Smith was doing. He's got Appy Coruscant, Danny Badiris, Robbie Farah. He's got them all. He's got every trait that they had and his leadership qualities as well. Cameron Smith debuted for the Melbourne Storm in 2002 at halfback, believe it or not, against the Canterbury Bulldogs. Only played a couple of games in the 2002 season. And then when Craig Bellamy came to the club in 2003, became a regular starter in that number 9 jersey. 2003, he made his debut for Queensland while scoring a try in the corner, believe it or not, in that game. And then obviously his success from there was unbelievable. He's named captain after Robbie Kearns leaves the Melbourne Storm. 2006, he's captain, gets them to a grand final, just falling short to the Broncos. 2007, winning that grand final against Manly, though it was stripped. 2008, he gets suspended, but his side that he captained gets to the grand final. 2009, premiership winning captain, stripped. 2010, we know what happens, the salary cap stuff. But now, get this, 2011, minor premiership, very unlucky not to get to the grand final. 2012 premiership winner. He still says that 2012 grand final win against the Canterbury Bulldogs was the best of his career. 2016, very close to becoming a premiership captain once again. 2017 was the best year of his career. Dally M Medal of the Year winner in 2017. Hooker of the Year, Captain of the Year, won everything. Won the premiership as captain, won the premiership as a player. I don't think we've actually ever seen in the game, in the NRL era, a more dominant year from an individual such as Cameron Smith in that 2017 season. Unbelievable player, unbelievable person. And as a Manly fan through that 07, 08 to 2011 period, I hated Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk. I absolutely hated them. But as the years have gone on, I've had to put my Manly hat aside and go, I can't help but to appreciate what they were able to achieve in their career. I didn't necessarily agree in the way in which they handled certain situations. I know Cameron Smith loved to get in the referee's ears, and Billy Slater had a side to him at glass houses, but an incredible. I don't need to talk about that. Madge Maguire did that for me in 2024, so I'll just reference Madge Maguire and the way Billy Slater played. But at the end of the day, it worked for them. At the end of the day, they were terrific players. At the end of the day, that Cameron Smith is a future immortal of this game. He's played more tests than any player in the history of the game, more origins for Queensland, origins in general, than any other player that's worn an origin jersey. He played more games, over 420 games of the NRL. 2018 makes the grand final, loses to the Sydney Roosters, and I've got to say, quite convincingly, I thought the Sydney Roosters were quite dominant in that game. 2020 final match against the Penrith Panthers, wins that, and that's his fairy tale. That's it. He wraps it up a couple of days before the 2021 regular season started. He had a press conference where he wrapped up everything he needed to say and thanked the Melbourne Storm fans. He's now signed as a coach, could be a halves coach or dummy half coach at the Brisbane Broncos. Not sure if it's assistant coach. I'll have to double check that. But he is now part of the Brisbane Broncos coaching setup there, which is a huge boost to the 2025 Premiers. They've got a big chance of going back-to-back. There's no doubt about it. So that's my top three. Api Koroisau, Danny Badiris, Cameron Smith. Man, those three hookers are creative, kicking game unbelievable. But the thing about Cameron Smith that makes him the best is he played pretty much 80 minutes of all those games, over 420 games in that number 9 jersey, playing 80 minutes. Kicking game, unbelievable. A great goal kicker. He controlled the tempo of the game. Very rarely do you watch rugby league and see players that are able to control the tempo of the game. That's a new level. You look at the young half, Isaiah Katoa. Man, what a gun. He's going to be a future superstar from the way in which he's able to control the tempo. Only very young at the Dolphins, but I mean, if he's not already a superstar now, he will be within the next 12 months. What he's doing in that number 7 jersey reminds me of Cameron Smith. Yes, they played different positions, but the way he's able to control the tempo of the game is such a rare thing to see in the NRL. Only very, very high quality special players can do it. And as a rugby league fan, it's an absolute privilege to watch it, to be honest, considering how rare it is to see. I watched Cameron Smith live many times at Brookvale Oval, beat the Manly Sea Eagles, unfortunately. Just a terrific mentor for any Melbourne Storm player, especially the younger players. And Craig Bellamy gets a big rap of the way in which he's able to turn a player that wasn't wanted from an NRL club to another club. I've got no doubt Cameron Smith was a big part of that too. The way in which he was able to, he would have had a big say in who came to the club and who didn't. I reckon, especially in the back half of Cameron Smith's career, he would have been a coach on the field. Uh, the best player, one of the best players in the top 3 players the game has ever seen. As I mentioned, whether it's England Rugby League, Australian Rugby League in general, Cameron Smith, you'd have to put him in the top 3. Just as good as it gets. An absolute privilege to watch. His career was 2002 to 2020. Pretty incredible. And 3 premiership wins, 2012, 2017, and 2020. Now, my last thing I've got to say is there was a hooker there that I really wanted to put in the top 3, but I couldn't. And yes, he is behind Robbie Farah. So I've got Cameron Smith 1, Danny Badiris 2, Api Coruscant 3, Robbie Farah 4. I'm going to go number 5, Luke Priddis. He was a gun player, an outstanding dummy half. He was outstanding. I will never forget being 7 years old watching the 2003 grand final. He carved up, scoring a try, setting up a try, this beautiful cutout pass, finding Luke Rooney on the left-hand side of the field to score on the corner. Luke Priddis in that 2003 grand final. Man, you would not see a better dummy half performance. It was outstanding. A great career, winning a premiership with the Penrith Panthers. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he debuted up at the Broncos. I'll have to double check that. He ended up at the Dragons, and I think it was part of the extended squad in that 2010 premiership winning side. I'll double check that as well. But he was a consistent player, known for his defense, a real strong defender, would hardly ever miss a tackle. But I just wanted to mention him as my number 5 best ever dummy half. And I know there's probably some I've forgotten. I went through a list for about 15, 20 minutes of who I could remember being amazing dummy halves. Luke Priddis for me. I'll just never forget that and what he was able to achieve in that 03 grand final. And just for the Panthers in general, he was a terrific player, terrific leader. The way he was able to combine with Preston Campbell and Craig Gower, incredible. So they're my best 3 hookers, and then the 4 and 5 who I really wanted to put in but just couldn't put in, Robbie Farah and Luke Priddis. That is the Rugby League Forecast podcast today. They are my best hookers, my best dummy halves of the NRL era. Please subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Plenty of content coming out, especially over the off season. Man, what do we got? Like 2 or 3 weeks until the end of the year. So I'll start doing some season previews. I've still got to do a lot of season reviews from clubs. I've got the Tigers coming up as well, and later this week the West Tigers season review, Manly. Just keep making my way up of the clubs and that I've got to review. I want to finish all the season reviews by December 31st, so I better get to it. But I want to finish the positions, second rows tomorrow, second rows, and then locks, and then my best number 14s that we've ever seen. Obviously, Craig Wing will be in there, but I think we've seen some real important 14s in the NRL era, and the way that 14 position off the bench is able to progress, especially since the 6 again rule came in 2020. Players like Dylan Walker, who used to be a centre 5'8", ended up being a 14 for Manly. Desi Hasler put him more as a ball playing lock. Now he's a 14 for Parramatta and starts at lock at times. An incredible player. Dylan Walker, an incredible 14, but we'll get to that later on. If you haven't already, please follow on Spotify, please subscribe on YouTube, and that is the Rugby League Forecast podcast for today.